I wanted to talk to you about the power of green and if you use the color green all by itself. You'll notice in this tree I have three different values. I have a mid-tone, a light tone, and a dark tone. And I mix those ahead of time on my palette so I have them ready to work with. And if you use multiple colors, you can get much more feeling of life compared to just a solid green tree. And that is the power of green. When I'm working with watercolors, I tend to make three areas of color. Here's just sort of a regular green. I then want to make a lighter value, so I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, and then make a lighter yellow, lighter green. And then I also want to make a darker green. Usually I add like a little ultramarine, or you can also add a little burnt sienna. Will also make it more of an olivey drab color. For example, let's start with a evergreen tree. You start drawing trees always from the base coming up. Okay, I'm starting with one of my lighter greens. I'm just making marks and getting some watercolor on the paper. They're not purposeful, they're just kind of there. That's sort of my lighter green. And then I'm going to go to my mid-tone green, and I'm going to sort of drop some color in there. Again, this is about making marks, keeping it fresh. The light is coming from the left-hand side. The light is coming from this side in my painting. And then the last one, I'm going to add in some darker tones. Again, I added just sort of either a burnt sienna and maybe a little ultramarine blue. I'm just adding some of my darker values in here. There we go. So it gives it life. There's the light side, and then there's the darker shadow side. But this is about the power green. In this case, we're going to do a deciduous tree like a maple tree, for example. So we have our trunk coming up, and then it's going to be going off into the branches here. And again, you can always drop multiple colors in here, what have you. All right. So again, I'm going to start in this case with my middle value of green. I'm just going to sort of start dropping in some of the areas. Again, my light is going to be coming from the left-hand side, and my darker side will be on the right. So I'm just dropping in areas of some just mid-tone greens. I'm now going to add some of my lighter values. They're just going to sort of come in on this side. And again, I'm just adding yellow to make it much lighter. All right. And then on the other side, I'm going to add my darker values. And in this case, I'm adding a little bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt sienna to get my darker values. Whenever you have like a little opening like this, you want to add a little darker above just so that there's a little bit of shadow coming across. Again, on the bottom, there's always going to be a little bit of shadows in here. And making things regular shapes. And I come back with my middle value green, just kind of tie some things together here. A little bit of light in the top, a little light up here. Again, keep things more irregular in shape. It makes it look more lifelike. And I'm going to add a little bit of sort of a couple little branches here and there just to kind of. Okay. So again, the power of green is pretty powerful. You can see how we have multiple colors in here of green, and it adds a light to the dark side, and it just gives it more life. Instead of just doing a lollipop tree that's just one color, you can see that just the difference between the two is striking. Just one color compared to multiple colors. In this example, we are looking at wild ginger, which is drawn in colored pencil. You can see that there's at least 3 different colors found within the leaves. There's a dark green, a light green, and a mid-tone green. You can also apply multiple colors to just one leaf. So for example, I have some mid-tones, some light tones, and I'm adding some darker tones to this leaf just to give it a little bit of life to it. And that is the power of green.